Hello, good morning, and welcome back to my channel that is the NCERT audiobook. So आज का जो हमारा चैप्टर है वो है ह्यूमन फिजियोलॉजी का पहला चैप्टर जो है डाइजेशन एंड एब्जॉर्प्शन. सो इसको हम आज हम स्टार्ट करेंगे. उससे पहले मैं आप लोग से पूछना चाहती हूँ आप लोग की तैयारी कैसे चल रही है. प्लीज़ मुझे कमेंट बॉक्स में ज़रूर बताइएगा कि कैसे चल रही है आप लोगों की प्रिपरेशन. सो आज का हम अपना चैप्टर स्टार्ट करते हैं. उससे पहले हम लोग को एक अल्फोसोनोकॉर्टाई के बारे में दिया हुआ है. सो पहले हम उसको पढ़ लेते हैं. Alfonso Corti, Italian anatomist, was born in 1822. Corti began his scientific career studying the cardiovascular system of reptiles. Later, he turned his attention to the mammalian auditory system. In 1851, he published a paper describing a structure located on the basilar membrane of cochlea containing hair cells that convert sound vibration into nerve impulses. The organ of Corti, he died in the year 1888. So हम अपना चैप्टर स्टार्ट करते हैं. चैप्टर 16 दैट इज डाइजेशन एंड अब्जॉर्प्शन. Food is one of the basic requirements of all living organisms. The major components of our food are carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. Vitamins and minerals are also required in small quantities. Food provides energy and organic materials for the growth and repair of tissues. The water we take in plays an important role in metabolic processes and also prevent dehydration of the body. Biomacromolecules in food cannot be utilized by our body in their original form. They have to be broken down and converted into simple substances in the digestive system. This process of conversion of complex food substances to simple absorbable form is called digestion and is carried out by our digestive system by mechanical and biochemical method. General organization of human digestive system is shown in figure 16.1, and the first one topic is 16.1, that is digestive system. The human digestive system consists of the alimentary canal and the associated glands. And the next topic is 16.1.1, that is alimentary canal. The alimentary canal begins with an anterior opening the mouth and it opens out posteriorly through the anus. The mouth leads to the buccal cavity or oral cavity. The oral cavity has a number of teeth and a muscular tongue. Each tongue is embedded in a socket of jaw that is given in figure 16.2. This type of attachment is called theucodent. Majority of mammals, including human beings, forms two sets of teeth during their life. A set of temporary milk or deciduous teeth replaced by a set of permanent or adult teeth. This type of dentition is called diphyodont. An adult has 32 permanent teeth which are of four different types. That is, first one is heterodont dentition, namely incisor, canine, premolar, and molars. Arrangement of teeth in each half of the upper and lower jaw in order of I, C, P, M, M is presented by a dental formula which is in human beings, that is 2123 by 2123. The hard chewing surface of the teeth made up of enamel helps in the mastication of food. The tongue is freely movable muscular organ attached to the floor of the oral cavity by the frenulum. The upper surface of the tongue has small projections called papillae, some of which bear taste buds. And there is a diagram given of human digestive system. The oral cavity leads into a short pharynx which serves as a common passage for the food and air. The esophagus and trachea, that is windpipe, open into the pharynx. A cartilaginous flap called epiglottis prevent the entry of food into the glottis. Opening of the windpipe during swelling. The esophagus is a thin, long tube which extends posteriorly, passing through the neck, thorax, and diaphragm, and leads to the J-shaped bag like structure called stomach. A muscular sphincter, that is gastroesophageal, regulate the opening of esophagus in the stomach. The stomach, located in the upper left portion of abdominal cavity, has four major parts. That is a cardiac portion into which the esophagus opens, a fundus region, body, that is the main central region, and the pyloric portion which opens into the first part of small intestine, that is given in figure 16.3. Small intestine is distinguishable into three regions: a C-shaped duodenum, a long coiled middle portion, jejunum, and highly coiled ileum. The opening of the stomach and the duodenum is guarded by pyloric sphincter. Ileum opens into the large intestine. It consists of cecum, colon, and rectum. Cecum is a small blind sac which hosts some symbiotic microorganisms. A narrow finger-like tubular projection The vermiform appendix, which is a vestigial organ, arises from the cecum. The cecum opens into the colon. The colon is divided into four parts, that is, an ascending, a transverse, and descending part, and a sigmoid column. The descending parts open into the rectum, which open out through the anus. In figure 16.2, arrangement of different types of teeth in the jaw on one side and the sockets of the other side is given. And in figure 16.3, anatomical region of human stomach is given. The wall of alimentary canal from esophagus up to rectum possesses four layers, that is given in figure 6.4, namely serosa, muscularis, submucosa, and mucosa. Serosa is the outermost layer and is made up of a thin mesothelium, that is epithelium of visceral organs with some connective tissues. Muscularis is formed by smooth muscles usually arranged into an inner circular and an outer longitudinal layer. An oblique muscle layer may be present in some regions. The submucosal layer is formed of loose connective tissue containing nerve, bloods, and limbs and lymph vessels. In duodenum, glands are also present in submucosa. The innermost lining, the lumen of the alimentary canal, is the mucosa. This layer forms irregular folds that is called rugae in the stomach, and the small finger-like folding called villi in the small intestine, that is given in figure 16.5. The cells lining the villi produce numerous microscopic projections called microvilli, giving a brush border appearance. This modification increases a surface area enormously. Villi are supplied with a network of capillaries and a large lymph vessels called the lacteal. Mucosal epithelium has a goblet cells which secrete that help in lubrication. Mucosa also form glands in the stomach, that is gastric glands, and crypts in between the bases of villi in the intestine, that is crypts of libercunon. All the four layers show modification in different parts of the alimentary canal, and there is diagrammatic representation of transverse section of gut is given, and in figure 16.5 a section of small intestinal mucosa showing villi is given. And the next topic is 16.1.2, that is digestive gland. The digestive glands associated with alimentary canal include the salivary glands and the liver and the pancreas. Saliva is mainly produced by three pairs of salivary glands. That is, the first one is parotids, that is cheek, and the submaxillary slash submandibular, that is lower jaw, and the sublingual, that is below the tongue. These glands situated just outside the buccal cavity secrete salivary juice into the buccal cavity. Liver is the largest gland of the body, weighing about 1.2 to 1.5 kg in an adult human. It is situated in the abdominal cavity just below the diaphragm and has two lobes. The hepatic lobules are the structure and functional unit of liver, containing hepatic cells arranged in the form of cords. Each lobule is covered by a thin connective tissue sheet called the Glissen's capsule. The bile secreted by the hepatic cells passes through the hepatic duct and is stored and concentrated in a thin muscular sac called the gallbladder. The duct of gallbladder, that is cystic duct, along with the hepatic duct from the liver forms the common bile duct. The bile duct and the pancreatic duct open together in the duodenum as a common hepatopancreatic duct, which is guarded by a sphincter called the sphincter of Odi. The pancreas is a compound, that is both exocrine and endocrine elongated organ situated between the limbs of C-shaped duodenum. The exocrine portion secretes an alkaline pancreatic juice containing enzymes, and the endocrine portion secretes hormone insulin and glucagon. In figure 16.6, the ducts systems of liver, gallbladder, and pancreas is given. Next topic is 16.2, that is digestion of food. The process of digestion is accomplished by mechanical and chemical process. The buccal cavity performs two major functions: mastication of food and facilitation of swallowing. The teeth and the tongue, with the help of saliva, masticate and mix up with the food thoroughly. Mucus in the saliva helps in lubricating and adhering the masticated food particles into a bolus. The bolus is then conveyed into the pharynx and then into the esophagus by swelling or deglutition. The bolus further passes through the esophagus by successive waves of muscular contractions called peristalsis. The gastroesophageal sphincter control the food passes of food into the stomach. The saliva secreted into the oral cavity contain electrolytes, that is Na plus K plus Cl minus and HCO3 minus, and enzymes salivary amylase and lysozyme. The chemical process of digestion is initiated in the oral cavity by the hydrolytic action of carbohydrate splitting enzyme. The salivary amylase, about 30% of starch, is hydrolyzed here by this enzyme, that is optimum pH is 16.8 in a disaccharide, that is maltose. Lysozyme present in the saliva act as an antibacterial agent that prevent infections. Starch in the presence of salivary amylase and pH 6.8 gives maltose. The mucosa of stomach has a gastric glands. Gastric glands has three major types of shells. First one is mucous neck cells which secrete mucus. Second one is peptic or chief cells which secrete the proenzyme pepsinogen, and the third one is parietal or oxantic cells which secrete HCl and intrinsic factor, that is factor essential for absorption of vitamin B12. The stomach stores the food for 4 to 5 hours. The food mixes thoroughly with the acidic gastric juice of the stomach by churning movements of muscular wall and is called chyme. The proenzyme pepsinogen, on exposure to hydrochloric acid, gets converted into the active enzyme, that is pepsin, the proteolytic enzyme of the stomach. Pepsin converts protein into proteases and peptones, that is peptides. The mucus and bicarbonates present in the gastric juice plays an important role in lubrication and protection of the mucosal epithelium from exocoration by the highly concentrated hydrochloric acid. HCl provides the acidic pH, that is 1.8, optimal for pepsins. Renin is a proteolytic enzyme found in gastric juice of infants which help in digestion of milk proteins. Small amount of lipases are also secreted by gastric glands. Various types of movements are generated by muscularis layer of the small intestine. These movements help in through mixing of the food with various secretions in the intestine and thereby facilitate digestion. The bile, pancreatic juice, and the intestinal juice are the secretions released into the small intestine. Pancreatic juice and bile are released through the hepatopancreatic duct. The pancreatic juice contains inactive enzyme, that is tryptopepsinogen, chymotrypsinogen, procarboxypeptides, amylases, lipases, and nucleases. Trypsinogen is activated by an enzyme, that is enterokinase, secreted by intestinal mucosa into active trypsin, which in turn activates the other enzyme in the pancreatic juice. The bile released into the duodenum contain bile pigments, that is bilirubin and biliverdin. Bile salts cholesterol and phospholipid but no enzymes. Bile help in emasculation of fat, that is breaking down of fats into very small micelles. Bile also activates lipases. The intestinal mucosal epithelium has a goblet cell which secrete mucus. The secretion of the brush border cells of the mucosa along with the secretion of the goblet cells constitute the intestinal juice or succus entericus. This juice contains a variety of enzymes like disaccharides, that is maltose, dipeptides, lipases, nucleosidases, etc. The mucus along with the bicarbonates from the pancreas protects the intestinal mucosa from acid as well as provide an alkaline medium, that is pH 7.8 for enzymatic activities. Some mucosal glands, that is Burners glands, also help in this. Protein proteases and peptines, partially hydrolyzed proteins in the chyme reaching the intestine, are acted upon the proteolytic enzymes of pancreatic juice as given below. Proteins, peptones, and proteases in tryptophan slash chymotrypsin and carboxypeptide keeps dipeptides. Carbohydrate in chyme are hydrolyzed by pancreatic amylase into disaccharides, that is polysaccharide, that is starch in amylase keeps disaccharides. Fats are broken down by lipases with the help of bile into di and monoglycerides. Fats in lipases give diglycerides and diglycerides is monoglycerides. Nucleases in the pancreatic juice act as a nucleic acid to form nucleotides and nucleosides. Nucleic acid, nucleases, nucleotides, and nucleosides. The enzyme in the succus entericus act as the end product of the above reactions to form the respective simple absorbable forms. These final steps in digestion occur very close to the mucosal epithelium cells of the intestine. Dipeptide in dipeptidases give amino acid, maltose in maltase give glucose plus glucose, and lactose in lactase give glucose plus galactose, and sucrose in saccharase give glucose plus fructose. Nucleotides in nucleotidases give nucleosidases, and in nucleosidases it give sugar plus bases. Di and monoglycerides in lipases give fatty acids plus glycerol. The breakdown of biomacromolecules mentioned above occur in the duodenum region of a small intestine. The simple substances thus formed are absorbed in the jejunum ileum region of the small intestine. The undigested and unabsorbed substances are passed on the large intestine. No significant digestive activity occur in the large intestine. The function of the large intestine are: first one is absorption of some water, mineral, and certain drugs. Second one is secretion of mucus, which help in adhering the waste, that is undigested particles, together and lubricating it for an easy passage. The undigested, unabsorbed substance called feces enters into the cecum of the large intestine through the ileocecal valve, which prevent the backflow of the fecal matter. It is temporarily stored in the rectum till defecation. The activities of gastrointestinal tract are under neural and hormonal control for the proper coordination of different parts. The sight, smell, and slash or the presence of the food in the oral cavity can stimulate the secretion of saliva. Gastric and intestinal secretions are also similarly stimulated by neural glands. The muscular activities of the different parts of the alimentary canal can also be moderated by neural mechanism, both local and through CNS. Hormonal portion of secretion of digestive juices is carried out by the local hormones produced by the gastric and intestinal mucosa. And next one is calorific value of protein, carbohydrate, and fat. The energy requirement of the animal and the energy count of food are expressed in the terms of measure of heat energy, because heat is the ultimate form of all energies. This is often measured to as a calorie, that is Cal, or joule, that is J, which is the atom amount of heat energy required to raise the temperature of 1 gram of water by 1 degree Celsius. Since this value is a tiny amount of energy, psychologists commonly use kilocalorie, that is KCAL, or kilojoule, that is KJ. 1 kilocalorie is the amount of energy required to raise the temperature of 1 kg of water by 1 degree Celsius. Nutritionists traditionally refer to kilocalorie as a calorie or joule, that is always capitalized. The amount of heat liberated from complete combustion of 1 gram food in a bomb calorimeter, that is a closed metal chamber filled with O2, is its gross calorific or gross energy value. The actual amount of energy combustion of 1 gram of food is the psychological value of food. Gross calorific value of carbohydrate, protein, and fats are 4.1 kilocalorie slash gram, 5.65 kilocalorie per gram, and the 9.5 kilocalorie per gram respectively, whereas their psychological values are 4.0 kilocalorie per gram, 4.0 calorie per gram, and 9.0 calorie per gram respectively. And the next topic is absorption of digestive products. Absorption is the process by which the end products of digestion pass through the intestinal mucosa in the blood or lymph. It is carried out by passive, active, or facilitated transport mechanism. Small amounts of monosaccharides like glucose, amino acid, and some electrolytes like chloric ions are generally absorbed by the simple diffusion. The passage of these substances into the blood depends upon the concentration gradient. However, some substances like glucose and amino acids are absorbed with help of the carrier protein. This mechanism is called facilitated transport. Transport of water depends upon the osmotic gradient. Active transport occurred against the concentration gradient and hence require energy. Various nutrients like amino acid, monosaccharides like glucose, electrolytes like Na plus are absorbed into the blood by this mechanism. Fatty acids and glycerol, being insoluble, cannot be absorbed in the blood. They are the first incorporated into small droplets called micelles, which move into the intestinal mucosa. They are reformed into very small protein-coated fat globules called chlamylo- chylomicrons, which are transported into the lymph vessels, that is leukocytes, in the villi. These lymph vessels ultimately release the absorbed substance into the bloodstream. Absorption of substance takes place in the different parts of the alimentary canal like mouth, stomach, and small intestine and large intestine. However, maximum absorption occur in the small intestine. A summary of absorption, site of absorption, and substance absorbed given in table 6.1. In table 6.1, summary of absorption in different parts of the digestive system. In mouth, certain drugs coming in contact with the mucosa of mouth and lower side of the tongue are absorbed into the blood capillaries lining them. In the stomach, absorption of water, simple sugar, and alcohol etc. takes place. And in the small intestine, principal organ for absorption of nutrients, the digestion is completed here by the final product of digestion such as glucose, fructose, fatty acid, glycerol, and amino acids are absorbed through the mucosa in the bloodstream and lymph. And in large intestine, absorption of water and some mineral and drugs takes place. The absorbed substances finally reach the tissues which utilize them for their activities. This process is called assimilation. The digestive waste solidified into cornate fishes in the rectum initiate a neural reflex causing an urge or desire for its removal. The ejection of feces to the outside through the anal opening, that is defecation, is a voluntary process and is carried out by the mass peristaltic movement. And the last one topic is 16.4, that is disorder of digestive system. The inflammation of the intestinal tract is the most common element due to bacterial or viral infection. The infections are also caused by the parasites of the intestine like tapeworm, roundworm, threadworm, hookworm, pinworm, etc. Jaundice. The liver is affected, skin and eye turns yellow due to the deposit of bile pigments. Next one is vomiting. It is the ejection of stomach contents to the mouth. This reflex action is controlled by the vomit center in the medulla. A feeling of nausea precedes vomiting. Next one is diarrhea. The abnormal frequency of bowel movement and increased liquidity of the fecal discharge is known as diarrhea. It reduces the absorption of food. Next one is constipation. In constipation, the feces are retained within the colon as the bowel movement and occur irregularly. Next one is indigestion. In this condition, the food is not properly digested, leading to the feeling of fullness. The causes of indigestion are inadequate enzyme secretion, anxiety, food poisoning, overeating, and spicy food. And the last one disorder is PEM, that is protein energy malnutrition. Dietary deficiency of proteins and total food calories are widespread in many underdeveloped countries of South and Southeast Asia, South America, and West and Central Africa. Protein energy malnutrition, that is PEM, may affect large section of the population during drought, famine, and political turmoil. This happened in Bangladesh during the liberation war of and in Ethiopia during the severe drought in mid 80s. PEM affect infants and children to produce marasmus and kwashiorkor. Marasmus is produced by the simultaneous deficiency of the protein and calories. It is found in infants less than a year in age. If mother's milk is replaced too early by other food which are poor in both protein and calorie value, this often happens if mother has a second pregnancy or childbirth when the older infant is still too young. In marasmus, protein deficiency impairs growth and replacement of tissue protein. Extreme emaciation of body and thinning of limbs result. The skin becomes dry, thin, and wrinkled. Growth rate and body weight decline considerably. Even growth and development of brain and mental facilities are impaired. Cautionary is produced by protein deficiency unaccompanied by calorific deficiency. It results from the replacement of mother's milk by a high calorie, low protein diet in a children more than 1 year in age. Likewise, marasmus, kwashiorkor, so wasting of muscles, thinning of limbs, failure of growth and birth development. But unlike marasmus, some fat is still left under the skin. Moreover, extensive oedema and swelling of body parts are seen. सो आज का चैप्टर हमारा यही ख़त्म होता है. सो मिलते हैं नेक्स्ट चैप्टर में लिए. तब तक के लिए थैंक यू एंड प्लीज़ शेयर एंड सब्सक्राइब माई चैनल. थैंक यू.